42nd Street in New York City. You're watching Pick's Morning News.
Clouds are sulfur in the air, bombs are falling everywhere. It's heartbreak. Whoa.
Heartbreak is sometimes tough, right?
Yeah.
Going through a breakup of a marriage can be really difficult, emotionally, financially, you name it, every which way.
And if you've tried everything but decide you must get divorced, there are some ways to make the process go a little more smoothly. Joining us this morning is matrimonial attorney Joshua Ketover. He's a managing member of Ketover and Associates in Garden City. Thanks for being here this morning.
Thanks for inviting me.
I've got to ask you first off, I see these signs all over town. They say divorce, $500. I assume an attorney is not involved. Do you have to, if you're getting along, if you're friends but you're divorcing, do you have to go through an attorney?
There's a popular medium out there of using mediators. The reality of the situation is, depending upon your complex life, finances, your child situation, more often than not, it's better to have an attorney. Of course, that may sound like a self-fulfilling prophecy,
well,
being an attorney.
Yeah.
But the reality of the situation is, depending upon the complexity of your life, it may make sense to have an attorney. But if you guys get along, you may not need one.
Yeah, a mediator might be the way to go. Let's talk about the law legally. No-fault divorce is coming into New York, and it's going to take effect. You don't have to give a reason, such as abandonment and all the other reason. You had to give a reason to get a divorce back then.
Unfortunately, New York was the last state to come into the modern era. We still had certain laws that were around since the 1700s, having to give a reason to be divorced. That draconian type of lifestyle has now left New York.
That's good to know. So we want to know, what are the top 5 things that we need to do when we are getting divorced?
Well, the first thing that I always advise my clients at Ketover and Associates that they have to do is, why thank you, is to understand exactly what you're going into. Okay. And by that I mean financially and emotionally. Once you make the emotional decision to get divorced, try not to make it personal. Sounds counterintuitive, but the reality is the business of divorce is much easier when you just get it down to brass tacks.
Treat it like a business transaction. If it's possible to remove the emotions, I can't imagine that it is, but try your best. What about the top 5 things to not do?
One of the things that you have to avoid doing is getting your children involved. It's one of the biggest no-nos, not just morally, but also legally. Children have to be left out of a divorce. You need to repeat the mantra, is this really in the best interest of my child? That you have to focus on what's best for them. It may not necessarily be what you want, but you have to focus on what's best for them.
All right, let's talk about divorce laws, different divorce laws, where you got married, where you're living. So I found this interesting. It's where you file your taxes is where you should file for divorce, right?
That's true, and it's also a flexible, it's a flexible area. More often than not, the county within which you reside is the county with which you will be filing your divorce. So if you live in Nassau County, or if you live in Queens County or Kings County, that's where you'd be filing your divorce.
And also, I always want to know, when you're dividing up things, I mean, we're trying to be as amicable as possible sometimes, but, you know, shared property always comes into effect. Houses, 401ks, savings accounts, jewelry, family things, belongings. Tell me how to do that.
The expression knowledge is power is there for a reason. You really need to understand what the marital estate is. Anything acquired in New York during the marriage is considered part of the marital estate and is subject to what's called equitable distribution. Understanding the values of everything and understanding what your rights are absolutely important. It may require hiring a forensic accountant, a short-term expense, but for a long-term savings.
Well, thank you so much for, forensic accountant. How about that? Sounds morbid. Well, thank you for coming in this morning. I appreciate it. If you want some more Joshua's advice on neatly untying the knot, meet us on the web, WPIX.com/morning blog. We've got a lot of his good advice there for you.
Thank you very much, Joshua, for coming in.